Alright guys, back at you with another Devil May Cry 5 video, and this time we're going to be talking about Nico character and what does she needs to be a good female tag along in Devil May Cry 5. So how we're going to do that is we're going to be talking about the other female protagonists of the Devil May Cry 5. No, Devil May Cry series, my fault. We're going to be talking about the other Devil May Cry females of the Devil May Cry series. So we're going to be talking about Lucia, Trish, Lady, Kitty A, and Cat. Even though Cat isn't a part of the original Devil May Cry timeline, we're still going to mention her because there are a couple of traits and qualities that Cat does have that were actually pretty interesting as a character, but the execution overall just wasn't the best. So I guess we should start this off with Lucia. We're not going to start off in order. Since the timeline's not in order, we won't start off in order. So first things first, let's talk about Lucia. So Lucia overall as a character, her role in the story, because we're going to be hitting on these points. First off is the role of the character. Second off is the character. Third, relationship with other characters, the characters' personalities, and then we'll throw in powers and abilities as well, how useful they are in combat, right? Because if you're going to be tagging along with Dante, Nero, or Virgil if he eventually becomes a good guy, which I can kind of see that happening in Devil May Cry 5. Which if eventually, if any of these guys, okay, if any of these guys need help or assistance, like these females need to be competent. So I guess that's why we threw in power and abilities in there. So okay, first off, Lucia. Okay. So Lucia, right? Lucia's role. So Lucia's role in Devil May Cry 2 was actually pretty major. Um Compared to a lot of the other Devil May Cry women, like she was more or less front and center, giving her backstory with the villain of the Devil May Cry 2 and giving her lineage of where she came from and how she was born slash or created. Like Lucia did play a quintessential role in everything that mostly happened in Devil May Cry 2. So I feel like her role was pretty adequate. Like she she had a factor, she had a major part to play, and she had a major part to play overall in the villain's organization. So that was pretty cool as well. Character wise, I feel like as a character within herself, the idea behind what Lucia was pretty interesting, especially during the beginning stages of the game because when it came to Lucia, it was pretty much just that she was another demon-like character, and at first we really didn't know where she came from or what she was. So it was kind of just like she was another. She could have potentially been another Dante when you first played Devil May Cry 2, but we got to learn so much more about her character and where she comes from and the type of person she is as the game went on. And I think that was the one of the cooler things about Lucia character wise. Like on paper, she was pretty dope. The only thing about her though, it was just that she really didn't get much screen time. Honestly, like she did have a couple of like one-liners here and there when it came to interacting with Dante or when it came to interacting with the villain of the game. But overall, I felt like her as a character and the level of interest that she implemented in the story of Devil May Cry 2 did work pretty well. Okay, and now let's talk about relationships. And this is where I feel like Lucia is probably the second strongest character overall in the Devil May Cry series because in Devil May Cry 2, she had a pretty strong relationship with most of the characters, and it was pretty relevant. Where her relationship to Arius was very strong. Her relationship with Dante was not the best. It wasn't on any like Trish level relationship with Dante, but it was adequate. I could even say it was believable. Like these guys could eventually become friends if push comes to shove. But her relationship with the characters was pretty nice. Like I liked seeing Lucia on screen. I like her talking to Dante. She was just so green in a situation where yeah, she was just so green in a lot of these demon hunting situations, and it was just nice to see how she operates in her own way. Um, I guess I guess calling her green would be belittling her a little bit. I mean, she did have experience fighting some sorts and some types of demons. Um, Especially on Arya's side. Arya's did say when he created Lucia that she eventually became defective. So we still don't know what she's fully capable of because there might be powers or there might be things that she don't even know she's able to do yet. So I feel like her relationship with the different characters were pretty cool, especially with Arya's. I think that's where she really shines as a character where her and the villain is able to play off one another because it's kind of like this "you're my father" type of thing, but you abandoned me, or um, I don't know who I am or my past, and you're the only man that can give me those answers. But at the same time, I have to make sure I stop you because you're doing all these heinous and evil things. So it kind of add that layer to Lucia that always made her a pretty interesting and cool character. Okay, next thing is personality. That's the one thing I think Lucia is the weakest at. Lucia, personality wise, like I can't even really define her. And I mean, that could be something on my part. Maybe I'm not seeing something from Lucia's personality that maybe other people are seeing. But for the most part, to me, I don't really see anything for Lucia. To me, she was overall generic for the most part. Like she done what she was told. She done what she was told. She went about the game pretty stalely. But then again, Devil May Cry 2 overall was a pretty stale game for most of these characters. The only character that really had personality in that game was Arius, and he was quirky, but he was quirky in the generic villain type of way, where you kind of knew where Arius was coming from as a villain, but he still was able to land it pretty well compared to like Dante and Lucia, who were kind of just bland or just mute to the whole thing. You know, it was just like, yeah, whatever. This is just a Tuesday. Who cares? Whatever. I don't care. You know, that's just the vibe I got from those two guys, Dante and Lucia. So again, like personality wise, I feel like that's the weakest thing about Lucia, but overall, like I did enjoy Lucia as a character. And now here's the crux of it all: powers and abilities. I'm not going to name off every single devil arms that she owns or every single ability and technique that she's able to do, but overall, I will say that Lucia is a pretty competent character. Um, if gameplay is any indicator of what she's capable of, she is pretty capable. Because if we're going to take gameplay into account, she was able to go through pretty much what Dante was able to go through in her own variation, of course. She was able to go through a variation of what Dante was able to do in Devil May Cry 2. Obviously, she's not as strong as Dante because I do believe, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe that Dante still ended up beating Arius, and he still ended up beating the final boss, like the god that Arius was trying to siphon power from. So still, she's clearly and obviously at that point in time in Devil May Cry 2, she's clearly not as strong as Dante, but she's still competent within herself. Like I wouldn't count out Lucia in a fight at all. Like Lucia is pretty competent within herself because if you're able to go through a game and at least make it to the boss, like even though Arius wasn't the final boss, even if you were still able to tussle with a boss, that's pretty powerful. But that's only if we're taking gameplay into account. Story and lore wise, again, that's still completely obligu- I can't say the word ambiguous to us because we still don't know what exactly is Lucia's full potential because she did lose her memories and then she did lose aspects of who she was. So we still don't know what she's capable of and what she's able to do if she were to remember everything that she was originally created with. So that could also be a factor to what she could potentially do in the future. But that's pretty much it for Lucia. Um, moving on to the next character.
Have you come back to me, Kai?
I'm Lucia. Don't call me Kai.
So just how much
All
do
right,
you know
the
about
next
Sparta?
character now that we're going to be talking about is none
The
other
story
than
goes
Trish.
that
I feel like we
Sparta
should have done
served as the
Trish first,
hinterland
but
of the city
I'll
long
do
ago.
Trish second because I
People
feel
who
like
live there
Trish,
today
you
take
really
these
can't say
legends as
much
truth and
about her
worship them,
other than just
just like
amazing
a god.
things. But we'll talk
They
about each
worship the
individual
demons of the
part, right? Or
peaceful
we'll hit on
worship
each
can't be
individual point.
condemned.
So first
But the
things
real
first, her
problem is the
role
order.
in
Lately,
Devil
they've
May.
been
Well, we'll
running
talk about
amok,
her role
catching
in Devil May
demons who
Cry
have even
One. I
trodden in
feel
on
like
some of my
we
jobs.
won't talk about Trish
Maybe
in
this
Devil
one
May
is
Cry
it.
4.
Not just
Even
demons.
though I'm pretty sure right
We've
now you guys are
also been
seeing
targeting
clips of her
demigods,
in Devil May
like
Cry
the ones
4.
you
But
have.
we'll talk about her for her
Okay,
introduction,
then
like when she
I'm
was
with
first
you.
introduced into the Devil May Cry franchise, right?
So what?
So Trish in
They
Devil May
believe
Cry
their
1,
intentions
her
are
role
foul, and there's
was
a
pretty
diabolical plan
massive.
behind
Like
this apparently
honestly, like out of
random
all the
acts.
women here, I feel like Trish is on the league of her own right now because in
So
Devil
what
May
do you
Cry
need
1,
to
her
do,
role was
Trish?
monumental. She was the one that gave Dante her job. Yeah, no, she was the one that gave Dante a job. Also, she was the one that had deep ties with Mundus and overall the family as well. For the Sparta family, she had deep ties with
Try
so
not to
many
keep us
different things. It
waiting,
was just
Dante.
ridiculous how big of a factor that Trish played overall, whether it came to Mundus, whether it came to Dante, and when it came to Sparta as well, because she is the recreation of Sparta's wife. So it was kind of just crazy how she played such a massive role. Again, like out of all the other Devil May Cry like heroines and stuff like that, like Trish is definitely on the top when it came to how important she was as a character. So her role, massive. Devil May Cry 1, her role was massive. Now, Devil May Cry number 2. Devil May Cry number 2 now. No, phew, my fault. I'm so sorry. Trish, not Devil May Cry 2. Trish. Talking about her as a character. Trish as a character was always pretty interesting. I always liked Trish as a character. She was a creation of Mundus, and she also harbors the face of Dante's and Virgil's mother. So as a character, she was always interesting. I think on paper, she was and will be one of the most interesting characters to go through in Devil May Cry. Like she was just so interesting to learn about, know about.
Don't be
Also,
late for the
I
party.
think the one thing that puts her a little bit above Lucia is she actually do remembers her past. It's not like we are seeing a Trish or a version of Trish that doesn't know who she is or where she comes from. Like this version of Trish knows what she's done and know the things that she had to do for Mundus when she was under his well, not really control. I feel like she did have free will at yeah, she did have free will. Like throughout Devil May Cry 1, at no point in time Trish ever led me to believe that she was being completely manipulated by Mundus, like mentally, like she wasn't being controlled. I feel like she had complete control over her actions. It was just that she was being swayed by Mundus to do certain things. I don't know exactly why or how exactly he was doing so, but Mundus manipulation runs deep, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's done some things to either sway her
Devil
one
May
way or the
Cry.
other. So
Sorry, we closed it
the
down.
next thing, yeah, I think Trish as a character was always pretty interesting within
Thanks for
itself.
making
But
a
the
new
next
one.
thing though is relationship and her relationship
Whoa,
with
slow
most
down,
of the
babe.
cast. Similar to Lucia, Trish had a pretty massive
Well,
relationship with
what
Dante.
do we have?
Massive, massive relationship with
Major
Dante.
calls? Too
Obviously
bad.
not significant otherwise, but just their connection
So,
altogether. Like
you
this
must be the
person
handyman
is
who'll
the
take any dirty
recreation
job.
of your dead
Am I
mother.
correct?
Um,
Almost.
I don't know if
I only take special
the
jobs.
creation of I think that would just
you
be
know what
weird,
I mean.
honestly. I doubt it, but I'll say it anyway just to throw it out there. But I don't
You're the
think
man who
Trish would
lost a
have any
mother and a brother
memories
to
of
evil 20
Dante
years ago.
or her
The
being
son of the legendary
Dante's
Dark Knight
mother. I think
Sparta.
Trish overall would
Mr.
be like a
Dante.
completely brand new person, like
Well, the
no
way I figure it,
memories
in
of
this
her
business, a lot
birthing
of
or
it
her
comes.
raising Dante or
And if I
Virgil.
kill each
It would
one
just
that
be
comes,
completely she's
eventually
a
I should hit
completely new
jackpot
person.
sooner or
The
later.
only thing that I think she has
that
is just the
case,
likeness
You should be
of
used
their
to this
mother.
sort of thing.
So again, pretty massive ties. Like you could even say like, yeah, I'm telling you, man, Trish is a very good character in the Devil May Cry franchise, heroine-wise. Like, as compared to all the other female characters, Trish is just on a league of her own. Because it's like, you could even say the scene where Dante went to go save Trish, pretty much with, or as the game goes on, Devil May Cry 1, and you see Dante trying to save Trish, and you see that iconic scene of
Time to go to work, guys.
Dante um, hovering over Trish's body and just said like I was supposed to fill your dark heart with light, something along those lines. It is very powerful, because he did lose
Even
his
as a
mother
child,
already.
I had
Now,
powers.
this was
Their
kind of like
demonic
the
blood.
universe giving him a second chance to save his mom in a weird way. And I feel like moments
You were
like
the
that were so
first one to know
powerful.
about my
And other
inventions.
relationships with like
Looks like
Mundus
I'm
and stuff
getting
like that
closer.
was also a really cool factor to the character as well. Her being like Mundus's right
seems that
hand in a
way,
way. Like,
but
well,
I'm not your
that's
enemy.
arguable though.
My
Like,
name is
whether
Trish.
Neo
I
Angelo
came
or
here to seek
whether
your
it
help.
was Trish that was
Put an
like
end to the underworld.
Mundus's right hand, this is debatable. I can honestly see like maybe it was a right left kind of thing. Virgil was the right hand and Trish was the left hand. That could be possible too. Now you know what, that could be a thing too. But yeah, relationship wise, Trish is definitely up there. Personality, what y'all man.
You beat him.
Trish is
Maybe it was
bleeding
too
with
easy for you.
personality.
Mundus.
Um,
His hands make me
she's
sick.
promiscuous.
Even his
She's
own,
very
they're doing
sexy.
nothing.
She knows how to work up. She knows how to work a
He's the
crowd.
one that
I
took
wouldn't
the
be
life of
surprised
my
if she
mother.
know how to work a crowd of men
Sure.
as well. She was just a character that had so much style to
mother
her,
used
so
to
much
always
flair
tell me
to
that
her,
my father
so
was a man of
flashy.
buff.
Pretty much, I wouldn't say that
courage
she's
and righteous
the
heart.
female version of Dante, because Dante is
In the
more of
name of
the
my father,
smart
I
mouth,
will kill
the smart mouth, just desensitized like demon killer, right? You know, he just doesn't take what he does too seriously, but at the same time, Dante is able to get the job done, and he's able to, come out on top. He's able to actually have fun with the job that he does. Like he doesn't take it uber seriously and doesn't take the guys super seriously. He's super powerful, he's super strong. So why would he stress any of the people that he's currently going up against, right? Trish, I feel like Trish is a little bit different. Trish to me has more of this sexy vibe to her, of course, but she obviously and clearly does have like a motherly feel to her. Like I remember in Devil May Cry 1 and the amount of times that she tried to go out her way to save Dante, and even Devil May Cry 4, the way she carries herself, like she is definitely a
Dante,
caring and
why did you
charismatic
save my
person
life?
overall for the Devil May Cry franchise. So personality wise, like I love Trish. I love seeing Trish. I love seeing Trish do what Trish does best.
Because you look like my
Now,
mother.
power and abilities. Power and abilities is, I think
got it on my
Trish,
sight.
and this is again, this is completely debatable. You guys can debate me on this, but I think Trish is pretty overpowered. Like on paper, if you really think about it, right? On paper, she's pretty broken. Even though in Devil May Cry 1, she's gotten allegedly taken out and defeated by certain things, right? That was all fake. Like that was all fake. I remember, guys, god dang man, I don't remember much of the Devil May Cry 1. I definitely got to replay that game eventually, but I remember Dante was fighting Nightmare or something like that, and Trish got stroked down. Stroke. Trish got striked down by Nightmare from like a lightning attack or whatever, and she tanked it. Like actually, like that was all fake. Her taking that damage was actually fake. I think the only time Trish actually got damaged was when Mundus was the one that attacked her, and even then she was still somewhat even then she was okay. Mundus hit Trish with a finishing blow, and she was all right. That's pretty goddamn insane. And not to mention that she also has Sparta. So she has she has Virgil and Dante's dad's sword. So imagine that. Like, first things first, right? She was created by Mundus, so I would believe Trish to at least be somewhat as powerful as Mundus, right? Like, Trish is somewhat as powerful as Mundus. Being able to tank a Mundus attack that was meant to take you out, that speaks volumes. And not to mention the added buff that is the Sparta sword just topples it over, man. Like, I believe out of all the female characters that we're going to be talking about today, Trish is definitely up there, like easily number one, like strongest female heroine in Devil May Cry, altogether, including the reboot. Strongest female heroine there. And yeah,
This one has the password.
the next person that we're going to be talking about now is Lady.
10 minutes. Can't let a single one of those suckers live.
5 minutes.
More than enough.
Alright, so it was Lady's turn. Lady's role in Devil May Cry 3 was pretty minor, honestly. Like, I guess now we talked about two pretty big females, but Devil May Cry 3, Lady's role was pretty minor. Like, she really didn't play much of a factor in anything. Like, she was there to stop and get revenge on her father for killing her mother, and that was all cool, but she didn't play a factor in anything. If you ask
The only
me, like,
family I ever had was
she
my
did have
mother.
relevance and she was important
she's
to
dead.
her own type of storyline. But when it came to her role overall in the game,
You
she
break
didn't play a
my
factor in
heart.
anything. Like the only big
After
factor
all,
that she
it was
played
I
it
who
was
gave you your
she gave
name.
Dante her rocket
My
launcher.
darling
So she gave
daughter.
Dante her rocket launcher, and that was pretty much it. Like her role was pretty limited. Her father was the final boss, and even his role was pretty minuscule at best, because throughout the game, like throughout like 2/3 of the game, Virgil was the ideal villain. He was the person that we were expected and thought that we had to defeat at the end. But things got flipped around, and then I think his name was Arkham. I think Arkham ended up becoming like the final villain. And again, there was no real build up. It was pretty
Well,
much
this
just
is
like,
my
hey,
kind of
I'm
rain.
going to sweep
No
the
wonder the
throne
sky
from you
looks
under
so
your
funny
feet. So
today.
Arkham was pretty
Let me
weak
go!
in the game as well.
Let you
Like I think the
go?
only two strong characters in Devil May Cry
But it
3
would be a waste
was
if you
like
ended up with
Virgil and
just a
Dante.
pretty
Oh yeah,
stain.
Virgil and Dante. Like those were the two strong and most powerful. They were the two strongest characters in that game compared to some of the other supporting characters. Yeah, Lady's role overall was weak.
Here I
I didn't
am
feel
trying
like
to
she
help
played
you.
much of a
And
part
you
in
show your
anything.
thanks by shooting me?
Also, character. Lady's character. So, I think that's that's the best thing about Lady is her character.
Whatever.
Because her
Do as you
backstory
please.
is still so ambiguous. Like, we don't know what exactly is Lady. Like, is she
So
human?
she's a demon
Again,
too.
if you guys know like concrete information of
I'm
what is
beginning to
she,
think
let
I've
me
got
know.
rotten
But
luck with women.
what is Lady? Is she a demon? Was she embedded with demonic power? Maybe it was stated in Devil May Cry 3, but I don't know. Maybe her father did experimentation on her and enhanced her in some type of way. Maybe she's similar to Nero in some way, where her eye or the change in her eye is kind of like similar to Nero's arm, where her eye is actually her devil arms, while Nero's arm is his devil arms. So it's kind of like, is that Lady? Because I feel like her backstory is so ambiguous. That's what makes the character so interesting, and I think that's what gives her those points as a character. But yeah, there's not much to really say about Lady. We know her mother died, and we know Arkham was her father. But besides that, we barely know if she's like a Nephilim. We barely know what she is. You know, she could be an angel for all we know. You know, so her character is pretty ambiguous right now. Her relationship, Devil May Cry 3. Her relationship with the characters in Devil May Cry 3 was like, again, it was really weak. It was super weak. Like outside of her getting revenge, her and Dante clearly had a couple of scuffles, but they never had any real character interaction or any real character moments, you know? It was pretty much just like, I'm here for this one thing and I'm out. So I feel like the relationship she had with Dante was really weak, and at the end when it was just like, yeah, I I'm not a douchebag like you think I am. I'm pretty much here to get the job done. Cause I don't know. Dang, I don't remember, but did Lady have resentment towards demons or whatever, or devils? Like, did she hate devils or whatever? I think that's what it was. I think in Devil May Cry 3, it was stated that Lady did hate devils. Like, she just did not like any. Maybe that would mean she is a human, or maybe she is part demon, part human, but she's just a half breed that just hates devils. Like, I don't know.
Who counted on you anyway?
I don't know. I have to play Devil May Cry 3 again now, or at least look up a walkthrough. Nah, you know what? I'll play it again. It doesn't matter. But it's just like, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. Like I'm doing this video and I'm just remembering things. But yeah, I think that's what it was. I think she just didn't like devils. So again, I know. Okay, even though maybe or maybe not. She didn't like devils, right? Her relationship with Dante was still pretty weak though, because it wasn't like she went out of her. Oh. Police alarm? Trying to make a video and you got police alarms going off and stuff. That's just great. That's always great. So again, relationship wise, I just feel like her and Dante's relationship was pretty weak overall. Especially her not going about stating like exactly why do she hate devils. I think because devils killed her mother. But again, the relationship and the contrast between Dante and her was just, it wasn't there for me. Like her father, like Arkham and Lady's relationship, it made sense, you know, like, and it wasn't shown too promptly, because obviously the story has to revolve around like Dante and Virgil and this adventure that Dante is going on. But it's like, I feel like the relationship Lady had with some of the characters in Devil May Cry 3 was just overall just weak. Personality wise, Lady to me, she didn't have. Well, I feel like Lady, I'll give Lady leeway. Lady didn't have the opportunity to really showcase her personality in Devil May Cry 3. Devil May Cry 4, yes, but Devil May Cry 3, no. She was on this path of revenge, so her mindset, her movement, and the way how she thought and talked was based off of that revenge. Like, she didn't was able to let her character really flourish, because the only thing that was in her mind was that revenge. So
that's
in
a
Devil May Cry
switch.
3, her personality was pretty weak because she was just a revenge-filled character. That was pretty much all she was boiled down to until towards the end, where she kind of like, warmed up to Dante a little bit. All right. Last thing, powers and abilities. And from what I've seen from Devil May Cry 4, Lady is a monster. Like her gun, her arsenal, her just kit in general is just devastating, man. Like just like Lady just is an insane character when it
You're
comes to
still
her
alive, I
weaponry.
see.
Like her weaponry is so demon killing oriented, like it's ridiculous. Like outside, like just seeing some of the things that Lady's capable of doing with her devil
My
arms or her
mother.
just her weaponry
You
in
killed
general is
her,
just
remember?
crazy to me. So when it comes to her powers and abilities, she's definitely a competent character. Mobile, reactionary. Like the things that she were doing in Devil May Cry 3 alone was crazy. Devil May Cry 4 just brought it over the top. I just think, but if does she compare to Lucia or does she compare to Trish? I I can't really
You
say.
were possessed?
Throughout Devil May Cry 3, even Devil May Cry, well, mostly Devil May Cry 3, she wasn't really able to showcase her power or her abilities all that well against anybody. So it was kind of just like I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Lucy as a character. I mean, Lucia. I don't know how I feel about Lady overall when it comes to her power, but seeing how and what she's able to do in Devil May Cry 4, I would still say that Lucia and Trish is stronger, but Lady is definitely competent enough to run with Dante on missions and stuff. Because that's the thing that I'm trying to hit on, like whether or not this hero is competent in running along with Dante. All right, so that's pretty much it for Lady.
Stop, Virgil.
Me?
You're such a sweet child. Just like your mother.
Father! Father! Virgil.
Okay, now here is where we go completely downhill. This is where things just dip for the worse, right? I don't even know if it's fair to even add her into this, but we're gonna do it anyway. And I'm talking about good old fashioned Kitty A. And how, wow, like, again, she's clearly not like any of the other women that we've seen in Devil May Cry. Right? She's not like Lucia. She's not like Trish, Lady Cat. She is not like any of these women. Kitty A was just her role, damsel in distress, throughout the whole game. She played no part. She had no part. She was only fuel to empower Nero, right? So I can't even say much about her. Her character, she was a childhood friend of Nero, so she's seen Nero grow up and she's seen him develop. What this means for her and the relationship between the two, we don't know. Like, we don't know exactly what was going on between them. Like, we don't know. Like, we do not know. Like, I feel like what makes this character interesting is the same way that Trish is interesting and Lady's interesting. Her backstory is still ambiguous. She was raised in a church filled with demons. We don't know exactly how this affects the character at all because that plot line wasn't really explored in Devil May Cry 4, but we do know she was raised and she was growing in the church. We don't know what kind of special abilities she herself may have, or we don't know what things that she is able to do. So that's one thing that we have to take into consideration, but the likely chance of that stuff happening for Kitty A, doubt it. Like, I just feel like at this point in time, now that they're reintroducing characters and now that they're creating new characters, I feel like Kitty A's role is going to stay minuscule. All right. Relationship. her relationship with Nero is massive. I think this is the one part in the whole, like, out of all these different criteria that I have listed in front of me, her personality, or no, her relationship is probably the strongest of them all. She has the strongest relationship with Nero. Like, she's grown up with him. She's seen him rise. She's seen him fall. She picked him back up. Like, there's so much things that this girl's seen Nero develop over the years. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if in Devil May Cry 5, like, she's the one giving us the crux to Nero's backstory of where he comes from or who he is, you know? Because I feel like Kitty A plays such a strong part in Nero's backstory. Like, I think that's the only way we'll really and truly understand more of Nero as a character and where he comes from. So, relationship-wise, Kitty A is a strong character. Personality-wise, obviously she's a heavily religious person. She follows the religious code that the order instilled within her. So, and then that's cool and all, but there's also, throughout the Devil May Cry 4, we barely got to really see Kitty A's character. Again, because she was a damsel in distress for most of the experience of Devil May Cry 4, so we really didn't get to see her shine. And I doubt we're going to get to see her shine in Devil May Cry 5. Again, I believe her role overall in that game is going to be non-existent. She's mostly just there to either probably scream a little bit, Nero, oh my god, Nero, you know, and that's it for her, you know? Powers and abilities, I've mentioned it briefly before. She could potentially have something. Who knows? Who knows what she might have? Again, she was raised and born in the Order, and we've seen her brother. I think his name was Krigo or something like that. I forgot her brother's name, but we do see her brother. We do see her brother have like demonic powers, so it's not too unlikely that she herself might have demonic powers. Maybe she have the power of healing. Maybe she can heal through contact, heal through tears, heal through like her voice, because I know Kitty A loves to sing, so maybe her voice has like healing properties. We don't really know the full extent to Kitty A's like backstory, so if they do decide to make Kitty A more of an important character, then I think these would be some of the cool ways to do it, but again, it's something to see. But as of right now, she doesn't have any powers until confirmed, or until mentioned by a developer or someone that's working on the game. All right. Last but not least,
Looks like they're determined to interrupt. Guess that kiss is gonna have to wait.
It's all right. I'll wait.
Thanks.
all right, last but not least, we have Cat. I know Kat is from the reboot, but I still feel like she does have a couple of traits and qualities that a female tag-along should have. And I think these are some of the traits and things that we do need to see from Nico if she's going to be a competent character that's going to be tagging along with Nero. So,
Dante! Don't shoot!
first, Kat.
My name is Kat. I'm not a demon. I'm still in the real world. You're in limbo.
Honestly,
How come I can
all
see you
the different
clearly?
women I talk
I'm a
about
medium,
in this
a
video
psychic.
today.
I can
When it
phase into
came to
limbo and
Kat,
communicate
she's
with you.
easily top
I can see you,
two. Like, she's
talk to you,
top
but I'm
two
not
or
actually
top,
in
like,
limbo
she
with
could
you.
take this spot because her role was pretty
I pull the trigger?
monumental. Like,
I'll
she
die.
was a leader in a two-part
risking my life
organization
for you.
with her and Nero.
I want to
She
help.
was also their leading researcher,
I
or
don't need
one
your help.
of their leading researchers.
The hunter has dragged
along
you into
with-
limbo. I can get you out.
Could I
I've
really
been
say
down here
that?
before.
But
I know how to get out.
You
Fight whatever
can
shit's
say
up
that
and do
Kat
attacks
was a leading
I wanna
researcher
fight the
because
hunter.
she
He's
was
not your regular
able
demon.
to
Follow me,
reach into
now.
different demonic worlds. So let's not say, I don't want to make it sound like intelligent wise she is intelligent or the most intelligent in that verse, but I will say that she definitely played a factor in the knowledge that they do know about Limbo and the demonic world. So you could say Kat did play a part in the research and development team. Also, again, she was a leader in a massive organization, even though Devil May Cry 5 never really showed off that organization at all. But she was a massive factor in the organization, a two-part leader. Um, no, a co-leader, my fault. She was a co-leader in the organization. She was a leading research and developer. She was able to access Limbo and the real world. So she was able to go between the different worlds and stuff. So her role in the game, and she also was the one who taught and nurtured Dante's devil abilities and taught him go about how to go about being the demon killer that he ended up being in the reboot, you know? And she was Dante's moral compass. She was the thing that actually helped Dante understand what it means to be a human, understand what it means to be a person that cares and a person that actually wants to do good. So again, Kat role in Devil May Cry the reboot, massive, super massive. Her character. Ooh, this is where her character, this is where, again, like, I feel like she's done so well. Like, her character on paper, and mind you, when I say character, I mostly mean what this person was meant to be on paper, not exactly execution, because the execution of Kat was terrible, but on paper, she is pretty interesting. She is somewhat of a witch, so she's able to create, like, she's able to do witchcraft in a sense. I don't know how far or how low her witchcrafting ability goes, but she is able to manipulate certain things within the real realm and Limbo realm. So that is pretty powerful within itself. Also, we don't know the extent of Kat's backstory because we do know, or we got a brief little tidbit on Kat. I remember in Devil May Cry the reboot, it was slightly mentioned. I don't know if it was mentioned in the base game or the DLC,
we can create gateways to and from Limbo.
It was said that she did jump around to different realms. Like, she wasn't able to control her power, so she did bounce between different realms.
What's in the can?
I don't know if it was Limbo specific that she would go to whenever she would bounce to realm to realm,
iron
but
shavings, desiccated squirrel
possible
semen,
that
wolf hair.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
I think it's possible that she could have bounced over to different realms, like completely from
Virgil.
Limbo or Earth. Like, she could have went to hell, she
You
could have
guys
went
seem
to
tight.
heaven, like she could have went
How'd
to
you meet?
different realms, Asgard for whatever
Is
we
it
know.
Irvin?
Like, she could have
I'd like
went
to know who
anywhere.
I'm risking
So I
life
feel
and
like
limb with.
when it comes to Kat's character and her
He's my
potential,
brother. He's
it's
trying to save
massive.
the world.
Like, her backstory,
What's your
who she
story?
could have been or who she's tied to, all of that would have been crazy
Listen,
interesting to see how that would
I
have
never
developed.
asked for your help, but you gave it, and
Relationship
and I appreciate it.
wise, we do know for the most part that Virgil
trust
was
you.
the one that saved her
can trust
when
me
she
too.
was jumping and bouncing around the different realms and stuff like that. Well, I think it was said that when she was in Limbo, she was crying or whatever, and Virgil was the one that came to her rescue and saved her. That's
I
why
was
she
in a
owes
foster
Virgil
home.
this monumental
My
debt.
foster father was a
So
demon.
that's one
He
thing.
attacked
I
me
feel like her
most
relationship
nights.
with Virgil was
I
pretty
had to get
good.
out.
Like, her and Virgil knows each other pretty well, and
Nightmares.
It's okay.
her relationship with Dante,
I felt
again,
nothing.
they've known each other
I
pretty
couldn't
dang well.
physically
Like,
escape, so
throughout Dante's
found another
adventure,
way.
Dante's journey, Kat's always been there
Aimlessly
helping,
wandered
aiding
Limbo in
the best
spirit
he
form.
can in the only way he know how to,
Found
which is just
Virgil there.
killing demons and just,
He heard my
throwing
cry
out
for
those
help.
quips. So I feel like Kat overall, like, her relationship
helped
with
me
Dante wasn't
deal
as
with
strong
demons.
as maybe Trish's,
Both
but I feel
figuratively
like her relationship with Dante in the
and
reboot,
literally.
like, I'll place her second when it comes to characters with the best
killed the
relationship with
bastard.
Dante or any of the other characters.
Now I want to deal with them all.
All right, now we have personality, and this is
stick with
where
this to the end, right?
Kat takes a nosedive. Kat had no personality, honestly. Like,
I'm here.
even like
I
Kat
don't know what
is
to
the weakest
do.
character.
Where's Virgil?
She's down there with Kitty A.
I
Because
don't know.
personality-wise,
He's
there
probably
wasn't
in the
much
server
to
room.
her.
The
Like,
Oxycon, but he might be
Lucia-
trapped in limbo.
How do we get to him?
Lucia
I don't know,
had
I'm
her
stuck in here.
dream-like
Is there something I can do from
personality,
Limbo to
new
break you out?
Business, trying to find herself, discover herself.
Think!
When it came to Trish was the sexy, promiscuous
There may be a
demon
way.
killer that used to work from under.
guide
She was a
you.
contractor. She took down her foes, took down her opponent. Like, that was Trish. Trish was a very interesting character, but Kat
There's
was
an old
just
tunnel through here.
like bland.
Maybe
Like, she
we can
didn't
get out
really
that
have
way.
much of a personality to go with her badass backstory.
We need another
at all.
choice!
Like, it was
They're breaking
pretty
in.
much bland to see Kat do anything. And last but not least, power and abilities. Now, this is where things get kind of crazy to me. Powers and ability wise, like I honestly and still do think Cat is super powerful. Man. Like, as a child, or at a young age, let's not say child, but at a young age, she was able to hop and bounce out of her control, mind you. She was able to hop and bounce between dimension and dimension. So it's kind of just like, oh, your potential.
Get out of sight!
Not to mention she's intelligent.
Get in that room and hide.
Not to mention she's able to manipulate things.
I told you not to run.
Let's just call it magic. She's able to use small forms and doses of magic, and we don't even know what the ceiling to her power is. So it's kind of just it's nuts to really think
Yes,
about.
there's an
Cat
emergency gate. I'll
potential.
take you there.
But overall,
Let's go.
it was
No,
just
not
like
yet.
she wasn't
What?
utilized the best way
There are
possible. Like the
terabytes
execution of her
sensitive
character
data here. We cannot
was
let them
very
get their
just
hands on it.
What does it
piss
matter?
poor, like very, very poor. On paper, Cat
They'll
does
know
seem like a very
everything
interesting
about our
character.
plans.
But when you play the game, none
If
of
they
these
get their
things
hands on
are
that data,
touched
everything
upon.
that
None of
I've
these
worked
things are
for
seen.
will be for nothing.
It's pretty lackluster.
Cat, arm
And
self-destruct. I can't do it from limbo.
now, let's talk about Nico. So Nico now is going to be
Demons are
final
breaking
one.
in. We don't have time for this.
Then make time, Dante!
Shit, Virgil.
Cat, do it now! 2 more minutes, Dante.
Virgil, I can keep the demons off your back for as long as you need, but I can't protect Cat from the feds. Step on it.
Understood.
They're almost through.
Let's go, Dante. Wait. What? What about Cat?
There's no way out in the real world.
No, we can't help her. Let's go. We can't just leave her. Think, Dante. We're in limbo. She's in the real world. This place is gonna blow any minute.
He's right.
There's nothing we can do. Let's go.
Go ahead, I'll be right behind you.
Dante!
Give me a second. Okay, listen to me. We don't have much time. Get down on your knees. Put your hands up. Do not fight back.
I'm scared. What will they do to me?
All you need to do is hold on for as long as you can. I will come back for you.
Okay. Nico. Obviously, Devil May Cry 5 isn't out yet, so I cannot say much about Nico, but these are some of the things that we do need to see from Nico. Like, first things first, her role, I'm not saying that she has to be there, but I'm just saying that when it comes to her role in the game, it already looks pretty good, because she does look like she's the weapon manufacturer for Nero, and she could eventually become the weapon manufacturer for she could eventually become a weapons manufacturer for the Devil May Cry organization altogether. And one other thing though, who's to say that she doesn't have ties and relationship with Trish? Oh, I said Trish. She doesn't have ties and relationships with Lady. There we go. That's the person, Lady. Like, who's to say that Lady, her devil weapons or whatever, her devil weapons wasn't created by maybe Nico's father or maybe Nico herself? Because we don't know what exactly Nico is, whether she's human or demon. Like, we don't know how many years or eons she lived for. So that could be a potential thing, but it would be cool to see how she plays a part into all of the characters, not just Nero, but how she plays with all the other characters when it comes to those introductions and interactions. Her character, her on paper is still pretty interesting. She's being a person that's able to create weaponry for hunters to be able to take out demons. That's actually a pretty cool thing. That's actually a pretty cool rep sheet right there, being able to take out demons with the weapons I'm able to create. Relationship-wise, again, we don't know how far and how deep her relationship runs with certain characters. I've seen theories out there that people are saying that, I forget that dude's name. His name escapes me. But people are saying that Credo was Kidie's brother. I don't know. God dang. It was the scientist for the Order in Devil May Cry 4, the one that was trying to rebond Virgil's sword but couldn't do it. That guy. People are saying that she could be his daughter. I mean, interesting theory, but it is not a theory that I'm pro for. Like, that's a theory that I'm running with, not my thing. Um, Personality wise, I already think she's pretty quirky enough. Like, I think I mentioned it in another video that they made her over the top purposely in the trailer just so you guys can get her quirky side, just to see how goofy and just, charismatic the character is. But I feel like personality wise, she should be good. She is a lively character, and I do appreciate that from her. Powers and abilities, again, the game isn't out yet, so currently at this point in time, we do not know what she's capable of. Um, and yeah, so far, I feel like Nico, she just has a lot to live up to. I'm not saying she has to be good as Trish, or I'm not saying she has to be good as Trish or good like because I think Trish right now is the bar. Trish right now is the bar when it comes to role, when it comes to character, and when it comes to relationship. But when it comes to no, when it comes to role, character, and personality, when it comes to relationship and abilities, the Cat's the bar. Cat is definitely the bar. So I think if Nico could be anywhere around maybe a Trish Cat with the personality of a lady, I think Nico would be a very fun and interesting character to see how she goes about interacting with Nero Dante if she ever meets Dante. I think she'll be pretty fun to see. But like I always say, let me know what you guys think about this. Do you guys think Nico is going to prove that she is able to stack up with the other Devil May Cry heroines that we've seen in the past? Or do you think Nico is going to completely flop and she's just going to be another piss poor character with potential, but just fall through the cracks like Cat, like Kitty A? And what do you guys think, or what do you guys want to see from Nico? But that's pretty much it for this video. I'll catch you guys for the next Devil May Cry video, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.